You are comfortably zoned with the Zigzag Man in Alameda, California, pushing on the doors of life marked pull and fighting the unholy trinity as we go. Big business, organized religion, and government. I am back, and you are comfortably zoned with me, the Zigzag Man, in Alameda, California, 420 Studio, down by the Lagoon. And I have an incredibly special guest today. She's the Poet Laureate of Alameda, California, former publisher of the Alameda Sun, and most importantly, she is an ongoing mother. She has raised children for the last 29 years. Please help me welcome to the microphone Julia Park Tracey. Julia.
Hi, and thanks for having me. Thanks for having me here.
Having you here. Better. Excuse that. We're doing fine in Alameda. We got Indian summer going and a new mayor-elect, Trish Spencer. So congratulations, Trish, and welcome, Julie. You've been back. This is the second or third time, and I'm always delighted to have you on these airways. Tell me about what it's like being Poet Laureate. What was the process behind it, and how that changed you? What did that give you head?
Good question. So, I was selected, officially appointed in September. The process was a couple of months ahead of time. Let me just back up. It was a really interesting year. My very dear brother-in-law, my sister's husband, who was a Vietnam vet, was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer in January. And I had just sat down and kind of made my goals for the year and was thinking, well, I'm going to work on this book, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I had all these things I was going to do. I made myself a vision, what do you call it, a vision, not journal, but
type thing.
Yeah, collage or something like that. I had great plans for what I was going to do with my 2014. And I think about the 10th of January, I pretty much threw all that out the window and said to my sister, whatever you need, I'll be happy to do that for you. So pretty much I kind of gave my time to my sister. If she needed me to drive her husband to the doctor, which I did several times, and he had a lot of stuff that went on with his illness. And anyway, basically that was the first half of my year. And we thought he was getting better, and it went pretty south pretty quickly. And by June 10th, he passed away. Actually, basically in my arms. My sister and I were right there trying to take care of him, and that was that. So over the year, thank you. He was a Vietnam vet, and I'll tell you some interesting things about that. One is he was sprayed with Agent Orange, and they 100% coverage. The VA guy said, oh, you were in the 25th Infantry in the Army and on such and such a place on this date in 1971. Oh, yeah, 100% coverage. And he also said to my brother-in-law, yeah, that was the day we killed you. It's just taken this long for you to die. So I have feelings about that.
He said that? That was the words he used.
Yes, he did. It took you that long. Yeah, the VA guy said it's just taken you this long to die. Blew my mind. Anyway.
And that they knew they were denying claims all these years to folks, and they had it well done. Yes, indeed, they sprayed on such and such a day.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
So anyway, so that was pretty, it was pretty mind-blowing.
I'd rather just be a stupid fuck that walks along with a 99 IQ and never takes anything in. Life would be a lot easier, I'll tell you. That is shocking to me. Yeah, that's shocking.
It was a lot. It was a lot going. Yeah, So in any case, earlier in the year, I had done some writing, and I would bring my laptop up when, and a lot of times he was sleeping, so I would do a little writing. But my focus was really on just kind of being there with whatever my sister needed, if she needed someone to go to the store or, you know what I mean. They live in Roanoke Park, so it was say an hour for me. I could buzz up there. I could take them to the doctor. I could, I would hang out with him. And sometimes it was challenging because he's a big Fox News guy. He liked to listen to Fox News. And so I would just sit there and bite my lip and do my writing and not, just what are you going to do? What can you say? So
people are taking in the news this way, and they're getting who to vote for from the pulpit somewhere. It's not. They make decisions based on the recent elections results. So, hey, you can't blow against the wind all the time.
And the other thing is, life is short. So, really, I didn't feel like I wanted to spend that time arguing with him, and I'm sure he didn't feel like arguing anyway. So, Anyway, so that was kind of how my year went until June, and then my sister asked me if I would speak at his memorial in August, and pretty much my writing shut down. I really my mind just went blank as soon as she asked me to do the eulogy, and I just went, oh God, what am I going to do? So in the year, so until August, about the first week of August of this year, so that's 2/3 of the year, I did not a lot of writing, and my mind was pretty much just really busy and blank. But in that time, I had been asked, apply for this Poet Laureate thing. And I said, sure, okay, whatever. And really, I had no attachment to it because I had other things going on. So it didn't matter to me if I got it or not. It was an interesting thing, but I wasn't like, oh my God, this is the peak of my career and I'm dying, and if I don't get it, I'll just die. It wasn't like that at all. It was really just, okay, people want me to do this. I'm happy to do it, but I do have other things going on. So my summer was pretty much taken up with thinking about what was I going to say, and then about the 15th of August, I was invited in to have an interview with Marie Gilmore and a couple of other people. Actually, the head of the library, Jane Chisaki, and there was someone else there. And some of the questions that they asked me about, what are you going to do about this, and what do you think about that, and I asked if there was any money, not for me, but if there was any money, say, for contest awards, for kids or something, if I was going to run a contest. And they said, nope, no money. But would you like to do this thing? And I said, sure, I'd be happy to. I would like to do it. That would be great. But I wasn't the only one applying, and I wasn't the only one being interviewed. And I left there actually thinking, well, I guess I don't have it. And it's okay with me either way. I'm fine if I get it, and I'm fine if I don't. I mean, it was such a grueling year that I'm really at peace with whatever happens. I don't have a big axe to grind about, really, did I get it or not? It's all good. Either way is good. So, and, it helps to not have an attachment because then you don't get all twisted up about did I get it or didn't I get it or did they like me or they didn't like me. I kind of just let it go. And at the same time that in August, a little bit, a week or so later, the very same week that I found out that, yes, I was going to be appointed the Poet Laureate, I also found out that a book I had submitted to a publisher was accepted, and that's the book that I just came to Amazon in the last week and that I'm launching this week. So it was this really interesting year. Here we are, only November. We're not done with the year yet, but the way it's gone has been very intense, emotional, family, medical stuff that I've basically been there to support. And then in 1 week, boom, boom, these two kind of intense and big honors and exciting things happening in my career. So since then, I accepted the position, obviously, and I was appointed in September. I wrote a poem for the inaugural, and I have to be really honest with who I am as an artist, as a writer, and I'm not going to be, anybody's puppet and just say the things that people want to hear. I said, you want me to write a poem about Alameda? I'm going to write a poem about Alameda, and it's not going to be, PR puff, ad copy. It's going to be how I feel about Alameda. And
you would have no other way, Julia.
So did you, I don't know, did you see it or no? Did you see it in the magazine or did you hear it? I can't remember now.
I heard it, and I was hoping you might have it with you so you could read it into this microphone, and you don't, but no problem.
I could probably get a hold of it, actually.
All right.
Give me a second.
Let's do this. I'm just going to push a button and pause this for a second. And during the pause, I want you all to just take a deep breath and say to yourself, God, this Tyko guy can really produce a radio show. He gets top flight, interesting people. So hold on 1 second, and we're going to pause for the cause. We'll come back with that famous poem for you in a second. I am back, comfortably zoned, the WZIG radio network, recorded at the 420 studio through Spreaker and archived. All my shows are archived on YouTube. So go to YouTube, punch in Ralph Tyko, Tyko, or Comfortably Zoned Radio, and you'll have them all. Some the really old ones from the back in the FCC not so free radio network are can be found somewhere. They're in a link. If you go to one of the show's websites, either on Facebook or on Pushing at the Doors of Mark Poe, you will find it post haste. Anyway, I'm back with Julia Park Tracey. Hope you're with us, Julia.
I am.
Good. Please, if you would, read the poem, and this is exciting for me.
This poem is called Home at the Edge of the World. There are houses down your shaded streets, beneath your oaks, your ginkgos, your avenues of palm. Leaded in glass, shingled in fish scale, spangled with gingerbread. Victorian ladies charted up for carnival, their history and lore curving like a staircase into view. Gentlemen strolled in spats, ladies swung their parasols, bay breezes curling with fog and the clank of halyards snapping flags. Water at every turn, glittering to shore, to ship, to ankles and toes. Neptune would have been pleased to see his name emblazoned, to hear the calliope, the splash and crank, the punch of tickets. Men pummeled each other in the ring at Kroll's, the Nickelodeon competing with the cry of merchants, seagulls, girls on the beach, with popsicles and peanut butter. The famous train stopped here, golden, spiked. Immigrants worked invisibly, then vanished from the record as if they'd never owned that shop or inhabited this neighborhood. We're at the edge of the continent, a dot on the map, an island of sand and silt. We have our own secrets, our dirty clothes, our backyard politics, small minds and big mouths, our stories of brutality and redlining, of spite and malice. I came here a refugee from the marriage wars, empty-handed at Starbucks, where I found a roommate, a latte, a lifeline. The past was closed to me then, our future uncertain, as airplanes crashed into buildings and fell to dust. From desperate shores I washed up, crumbled like the missing tower of City Hall. I didn't know yet that in Alameda the past is under your feet, in sand and shell, that the streets of Bay Farm were paved with the bones of other people's ancestors. I didn't know that some islands are real and some islands are made, that we could live here for 3 generations and still be new. But I have roots here. I'm an Alamedan too. My mother, just a child in the Depression, came down from tawny oak-strewn hills for sand from the beaches for her sandbox. My father, just off the ship, his Navy uniform still salt damp from the Sea of Japan, took a drink at Wally's Corner, then crossed the Green Bridge, up the road to the university, to stand at Strawberry Creek and think, I'm finally home. He brought my mother down Trestle Glen, Park Boulevard, Grand Avenue, Webster, through the Tube to their apartment on Lincoln Avenue, the Ulysses S. Grant, to take out trash and mop the halls in exchange for rent. My brother came, a squalling newborn at the hospital where consumptives once went to bask in the sunlight, to dry their shattered lungs. He crawled, he walked, and my sister followed, and we moved away to suburbs where there was room to grow. But I came back. My daughters became jets. My stepchildren were hornets. My allegiance to the home team shifting when the rent was raised. I've met a prince here and then a pauper, and married the same man twice on green grass by the water, lived in houses big and small with stories of their own. Alameda, Alameda, your name is lyrical on my lips. You showed me how far I could walk on shifting sands before drowning, before I was in too deep, before I thought to ask for help, before I learned to save myself. Alameda taught me that even the least of turns has power, that even people living in mansions sometimes lose their beach, that 2 newspapers are better than none, that when there's trouble, raise the bridges, that when in doubt, hold a street fair. Alameda, Alameda, you've unfurled me, shucked me like an oyster. Tell me your secrets. Send me scribbling to the page.
Wonderful. Absolutely touching and so poignant. It really says it all. I've been a resident for 22 years, and my mother's favorite brother and my favorite wonderful uncle took his advanced merchant marine training in Alameda, came out from back east, as did I, and the building in which he took it still stands by the Foster Freeze, and it means a lot to me. Uncle Harold took his training here and went on to be the youngest merchant marine captain in the history of merchant marines in World War II, and our families basically crossed paths. Your dad having been stationed here out on that base, and so I'm just tingling with a beautiful poem, and great having you. Great memories of Alameda, and wow.
Thank you.
We love this place. It's not perfect, but it can be someday, and it's getting better. I think we did better by the elections. That's time will tell as far as that's concerned. I want you to tell me about the book that you have coming out, and give me a little bit of a synopsis, and just tell folks what's in store for the book, where they can get it, and how they can go about treating themselves.
Okay, sounds good. So the new book is, this is the book that I was saying that was accepted by a publisher that I discovered found out a couple months ago about that. And it is a chick-lit novel. It's basically kind of a mystery, but it's the protagonist is a 20-something young woman who's very filled with angst and searching for love and who is she in the world and all that. So very angst-ridden. It's kind of Sex in the City meets Miss Marple, because she's got a mystery to solve. And it's funny because I didn't think I was writing a mystery. I thought I was writing a romance, but it turns out to be a bit of a mystery. In any case, it's called...
Sometimes the two go hand in hand.
They do. Well, it's called Veronica Lane Gets the Scoop, and it is about a young newspaper journalist who lives on an island in San Francisco Bay, very much like Alameda. It's called San Pedro Island, and it's basically Alameda, but, things were changed in order to fit the narrative.
Names been changed.
To protect the guilty.
Right. No innocence.
In any case, basically I took my journalism background and created some stories that I thought, things that could have happened that would have made interesting stories. And basically the storyline of the first book of this is the storyline is that this young woman understands that there are houses being built, and she hears that they've discovered a shell mound, and that so she's racing the real estate developers and trying to get the scoop on what's happening before the bulldozers dig up the shell mound. So I kind of took the old story of how Bay Farm was paved, and with the shells from the shell mound down at by Lincoln Park. And I placed it kind of basically out at Alameda Point, and what if they had discovered a shell mound out there? Although obviously Alameda Point is landfill, so that wouldn't have happened, but I just sort of took those bits and pieces and put it together. And then I've thrown in a lascivious sexual gratification about every fourth chapter, so something for everybody.
So it's a book that interested you. In other words, you can't help but be not interested in that.
Don't read it to the kids.
Tell me about. I certainly won't. They'd have to read it to me. That's the deal I have with them. I'm getting old. Hey, I did for you. You do for me. For crying out loud. Give me some stories, youngins. Tell me about your writing process itself. What is it? Do you write when the spirit moves you? Do you make an appointment with yourself? Do you make it like a job thing where at 3 o'clock I'm going to write for 2 hours? What's that like?
Well, I've been a journalist for so long that I write very well on deadline. So if it has to be written, it has to be written, but I'd probably usually wait till the last possible moment to sit down and do it. I'm not usually one who works ahead. I mean, the adrenaline is it's a drug, so I wait till the last minute and then I panic. So I get it done. And I'm a pretty clean writer, so one draft, and then I'll go over it again and fix anything I might have, anything stupid I might have left out or what have you. I always need someone to read it. It's never perfect, but it's pretty clean, and I'm not someone who needs to do 47 drafts and all that kind of stuff, and that's all from just having written on deadline for so long. I would say, to say I'm going to go sit down and write is hard to kind of call the muse at that point. I'm not temperamental. There are times that are more conducive, and definitely when I'm out of the city, if I go to the beach or if I go to the mountains or if I go somewhere far away, it's a little more inspiring than if I'm, sitting at my same old desk where my bills and my, email and things like that. Yes, exactly.
That you're comfortable with, right?
I also find getting up early is really good for me, but also sometimes staying up really late. I like to have a quiet house, so Saturdays and Sundays pretty much suck for writing because there's people coming in and out, and we got places to go. And so I like early morning. I've been getting up at 5 and writing for a couple of hours, and then I'll go do other stuff. And then sometimes late afternoon I can get another good blast going. I'm working on the second of the Veronica stories right now, which would be either Veronica Lane Stops the Presses or Veronica Lane Has the Nose for News or something, some other, thing like that. And so I've got writing to do. I've been writing.
You've had the premise down, so now you just have to repeat.
Give her some more adventures. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's the hot off the press series is what it is. And you can get it at BookSync. You can get it online. You can get it as an ebook, as a paperback. I suppose if you wanted it as a hardcover, they can probably order it for you. I don't know. I know for sure it's paperback and ebook, and just look for Julia Park Tracey, and there are other books under my name if you're interested in those. But I know they have them in Alameda at BookSync, and you can get also online. So that's how you.
I just have one more question I've been saving up for you because our time between interviews is always too long, and there are always things along the way that I'd love to have you on to ask you. Parenting. I was a stay-at-home dad for 5 years when my kid was young. How and you've been doing it for 29 years. What has changed about children today, about how they're raised, how they're educated, that stands out for you over the years, you're still raising children, still at it, and this is a stepson that you're raising now as your own.
Right.
And, or he's raising you by this time? Is that what you were going to say?
Well, interestingly, let's see. My first round of kids were all girls, and then I got a stepdaughter and a stepson, and so I had 4 girls in a row and then a boy. So it's definitely different gender-wise as far as the things they like, and I don't know. And it's subtle. It's not like this is pink and this is blue. It's just how do they deal with stress is different. How do you take care of them? Are they huggy? Are they not, don't touch me? Are they, I don't know, attention to detail or big picture? And some of it's just who they are, and some of it seems to be more male and female centered. But as far as overall societal, that kind of a thing, you know, I hear a lot of stuff about helicopter parents. I do see in my own extended family, I see some of my siblings who have hovered over their kids, and I think even though their kids have had every opportunity, they'll be further behind because they've never had a job and they're in their 20s already, or they don't really know what it's like to be hungry. And my kids, at least, they understand what the reality is. If you don't work, you don't eat. And they've seen me working hard, you know, as a single mother, and also managing for when there were 7 of us in the house and so on. So there's that. But I also see kind of the swing back to sort of the hippy-dippy thing, which I think I was 20 years ahead of my time when it came to parenting. I was definitely using cloth diapers, and I was nursing, and I had the baby in the sling pack while I was running around, and not everybody was doing that at the time. So I don't know.
Making the baby
I think
part of your life rather than the baby's hovering over the baby's life. It was, you know,
right.
Incorporated the child into your own and didn't let that stop you from having a complete life. What are some of the we all know? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say the other thing that's changed a lot is me. I was, you know, very rigid and religious when I was in my 20s and 30s, and I'm not now. I'm just not.
Oh.
So the things that I was uptight about is like, we're going to church on Sunday. Now it's like, you know, just close your door. I don't really care how clean your room is. I just don't want to see it. You know, I mean, I personally changed a lot. So by the time I have grandchildren, which may be in a few years, you know, I'll be cool. I'll be chill. So
I just wanted to ask you, you mentioned the differences, obvious differences in gender. What are some of the similarities that boys and girls have that aren't common? You know, we don't have a common belief system that we're closer to each other, men and women, girls and boys, than we really are. Are there things that I don't even know if I'm asking this properly. Are there things that are in both genders that are more similar than?
Well, doesn't everybody just want to be loved and appreciated?
Great question. I should be in radio. Sorry.
I think everyone just wants to be loved and appreciated, and it's a little different for all of them. I have, you know, my 29-year-old daughter will still want to crawl in my lap, and that's her, and she's like, Mommy. I mean, she's very lovey, and yet my stepson, who's 16, you know, he wants to show me that he can do 50 push-ups or something, and they're, I don't know, they're different, but it's the same ultimate goal. It's very different about what they want and not what they want, but how they want to achieve that, I guess.
How they go about it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They're going for this, yeah. Anything you'd tell a single parent who is trying to juggle children, work, you know, just the whole Megillah, that maybe that it'll be all right? I mean, are there soothing words that you could give a 25-year-old struggling today?
Well, first of all, I don't consider it single parenting. I consider it double parenting because you're doing the job of two parents. And so to call it single parenting feels a little demeaning because you're really doing two jobs, plus your outside job. And the other thing is, just cut yourself some slack. Cut yourself some slack. It's okay, if you put the kids to bed in, the T-shirt and the socks they're going to wear tomorrow. Put clean ones on before they go to bed, and then all you have to do is put their pants on them in the morning, or give them cereal for dinner if you don't have time to make a real dinner or whatever. I mean, stop beating yourself up. You're doing what you're doing. As long as your kids aren't actively bleeding, you're probably doing okay.
Already at the emergency room, then you have to worry.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I'll throw one in. How about just do the best you can and live with the results?
Exactly. Exactly.
That's all we can all do. Hey, thanks for being a guest. You're terrific.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Bye. And I will hope you send your best to Patrick, who maybe you could just take a second and give him some kudos for being a great husband to you and a great support system.
He's fantastic. I always I dedicate my books to him because I couldn't do it without him if he wasn't there. He's like my what do you call it? The tent stakes that hold the tent from flying around. He's grounded.
Well,
he's a good guy.
I don't know. Jews don't live in tents. But this one lives in an RV, so go figure. Hey, listen. Again, he is terrific, and he's been on the show, and tell him he's missed this time, and hope next time he can come on, and we'll talk a little baseball along the way too. Thanks, Julia. You come back soon, and
I shall. Thank you.
I'm happy you're here. We have one more segment coming up. It's where I get to rant with Scott, Brother Scott. I just flat out rant. It was taped on Election Day, and I talk about what I think is the worst thing in the world, is the blurring of the already blurred line twixt church and state. And I went into it pretty hard about the current regime in Alameda, and it was the day 200 more people voted for Trish Spencer for mayor than for the incumbent. It was that close. She was elected, and I hope we won't have more of the same in the next 4 years. I think this was a corrupt administration, and SunCal still continues to turn my stomach, and the rapid growth makes a quaint island into a not-so-quaint parking lot filled with dollar stores. That's what it's turning into. So next segment, Brother Scott listens to me rant and rave, and stay tuned for that. Thank you again, Julia. I'll end this segment.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. I will end it like I end all segments. I implore you, Julia, all my listeners and friends, to keep your dreams wet and your humor dry. Keep your kids out of military recruiting stations. It's very, very imperative that you do. Your kids are being used as fodder, whether or not you know it. And probably as important as anything, keep your kids off the laps of clerics wearing dresses wherever you are. If you're looking for good child care, go to the Yellow Pages. It ain't in catechism. So, and more importantly, keep on keeping on, everybody. Have a great one. I am back. You are comfortably zoned with the Zigzag Man. 420 Studio, Alameda, California, down by the lagoon. Election Day 2014, and I'm into local politics for the first time in my life. I've lived in Alameda for 22 years, never really gave a rat's ass what was going on because I had other interests, and I really didn't see the effect of it all when national politics was what it was, and it took me long enough to get into that, and I became a screaming socialist after that, and I never equated it with it to how it all starts, like it started with Obama. On a city or a state level, you don't just get to the national level automatically, but things are indicative of the way things are on a national level on a city level. And I've come to realize that there are good candidates and bad candidates in the city race, just as there are in a national or a state race, for the same reasons. People are good or bad for the same reason. I'll give you a good example. In Alameda, we have two women running against each other. The incumbent is a woman by the name of Marie Gilmore, who has, I think this is her second term she's running for. This is some of the things she's done in the first term, okay? And she's the odds-on favorite. We had to have Trish Spencer raising a grassroots effort, taking no money from the pigs that she takes money from, does Gilmore, as an example. The builders, the realtors, the contractors, the landlords, the unions, police, and firemen support Marie Gilmore for re-election. Why? Because she's developing this town to the point where it's become a frickin' parking lot to drive around in. We're a little island. We got 4 bridges and a tunnel, all of which are jammed-packed during rush hour traffic. If you try to get from the east end to the west end of the island, any time of day or night, well, night maybe not so, because no one's out at night except the police. The almighty police force in Alameda. Okay? You're in more if you're a black kid riding his bicycle with no lights, they'll shoot you right off the bike. There's no question. I mean, I have my guest, Brother Scott, laughed at that. That's how they treat minorities. That's how they treat the poor. That's how they treat human beings in Alameda. They have no smoking cigarette ordinances in Alameda. This town is unbelievable. So, Marie Gilmore's running, and basically the only difference between Marie Gilmore and Trish Spencer is that Trish Spencer takes her support from the people. Small contributions. She's had 2 $500 contributions maximum, and Marie Gilmore is being supported by people who are ripping the heart out of this town and trying to make it into a metropolitan city. That's my take on it. Now, what makes Marie Gilmore and her administration most despicable to the man I love, Ralph Zig Tyko? Well, let me tell you. This is a woman who has an administration that totally blurs the line between church and state. Separation of church and state. Constitutionally, there's a clear line. And I'm going to name you 3 ways in which she does it. First, from an old personal story that I might have mentioned on the air 7 or 8 or 12 times, is when me walking on a Sunday morning with a cup of coffee in Washington Park, Upper Washington Park, and which is public property. Washington Park. Beautiful park. Alameda, California. And I'm walking with my coffee. I'm high as a kite, just walking along, having a nice day. It's Sunday. And I look up, and I see not a church picnic, but a church service being conducted between the swings and where a little area where the really little kids play. There's a little spot in between there. And there's a bunch of rolling Baptist cuckoos with their Jesus shit. Jesus this, Jesus this, Jesus that. It's Sunday fucking morning. Okay? They're on public property having a service. Nice people, I'm sure. If nice people, you think of nice people who don't like gays because they're gay, for instance, then they're nice people. Okay. They're praying. So I walk up and I'm just looking around. I talked to one guy. I said, "Are you guys permanent here? Did somebody issue you a permit to have a service here?" Guy says, "Yeah, we're permanent by the city. We have a permit." I don't remember if he showed it to me or not. I don't think he did. But I said, "Okay, real nice." He says, "You want to sing along?" I said, "You really wouldn't want me to sing along. When I was in school, I had to move my lips when the class sung. That's how bad a voice. I'm Johnny One Note. Johnny One Note." And so they didn't. This guy. Besides, I sing better in Yiddish. I told him I'll give you an old Yiddish song. Would you like to hear that? He just looked at me. What the hell are you talking about? So, this is Sunday. Monday morning, bright and early, here I am at the mayor's office. Go right to City Hall. "Did you permit?" I asked the mayor, the Honorable Mayor Gilmore. I asked her dowdy assistant, vice mayor or whatever the hell she called herself. I said, "Would you like to put this on the air? We'll get Mayor Gilmore. I'll get my little microphone. I got a little digital mic that I put stuff on." She says, "Oh, no." She just looks at me with a little smile. She's a very nice woman. No. They're not going to go on the air with this." I said, "Did you guys permit the church to have a service? Is that public private? Is that the way you do it? Is that policy?" She says, "Oh, that? Well, I did. Why don't you go down and to the parks department, the head of the parks department? There's another office about a block away on Santa Clara, or whatever the hell it is. And speak to such and such. I think her name was Ann something. But we don't know. Go speak to her." So I get there, lickety-split, and sure enough, she's not in. So I asked the secretary, nice young woman, I said, "May I ask you a question? Are you guys in the habit of permitting churches to have services on public property?" She says, "Well, I said, "Well, let me ask you this. Yesterday, there was a church service going on. I asked them if they were permanent. They said they were. The mayor's office said, 'Come down and check it out.'" She says, "Let me go get the book." Whoa, my little heart started to beat because I was going to get to see the book without the boss being there, who would have showed me the exit. But this is a nice woman who said, "Hey, I'll show you the book." Yeah. She opens it up. Hey, Sunday. "Well, yes, we did permit it. There it is, right there." Had my little Jew eye on the book. So and I'll swear to that on a stack of Bibles, if the Bible is the baseball encyclopedia, which I think it is, but the real Bible. So I go marching back to the mayor's office, speak to the dowdy woman. She says, "Oh, well, why don't you go down to the city manager's office? They'll tell you what, I don't know, city attorney, city manager, whatever it is." So I go down there, I tell them my story, they take my business card,
with my email address on it, and they were nice enough to respond to my problem. How do they respond? Well, they have a law clerk who's under the employ of the city write me a letter saying a PDF on my email, attached to my email, with a bunch of citing some cases that are about to go to the Supreme Court, or the doubt of this, doubt of that. And that was the first part of the letter. The third part of the letter, the closing part, more cases, and besides, blah, 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 did this, and it's different than that, blah, blah, blah. Right in the middle of the letter, the woman posts, just, you could see her dropping in a paragraph. I have the letter. I'll put it on. I don't know what I'll put it on, but the PDF, I'll put it as an attachment on YouTube as a comment. I'll try to post the PDF somehow, so you could see it one and all. All right, because be in on this. We're going to sue this frickin' city for separation of church and state. We're going to get the ACLU, and we're going to sue the city because there's more coming about the way they do it. Anyway, in the middle of the letter, and besides, we never permitted the park, the church, to have a service in the park. A little paragraph mixed in. Really? Okay. So, that story is told. Yes, they did permit. Yes, it is blurring of church, separation of church and state. And yes, it turns my frickin' stomach. Cut. 2 years later, Trish is running for mayor, and I interview her, Trish Spencer, on a show. You could check it out right here on YouTube. And I jokingly asked, at the beginning of the interview, I said, "What would you do as a mayor? Would you charge taxes, property taxes, to the church? Could we eliminate that deduction that they have?" That she jokes, she says, "Oh no, that's a national thing. We can't get into that. We'll have our interview. We have our interview." So, lovely woman, good interview, a priceless heart with this woman. She's for the people all the way. She's against the mayor in cahoots. And I didn't tell you about Sun Cal, who came in and dropped a ton of bucks into these people's hands so they could get a contract that cost the city thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, indebting this system, the city, Mayor Gilmore. So, come to find out, now that I'm such a supporter of Trish, wanted to find out what's going on in the city, and because I think Gilmore's biggest grievance is that she did blur the line between church and state, as far as I was concerned. I can't define what else does she do. All right. There's a bevy of businesses, maybe 12, in the heart of town. The nicest part of Alameda, the nicest business park, is owned by the Catholic Church. 2 years ago, they had a grant program going on in the city to make the businesses look nicer. The city, if businesses qualified, would grant businesses money to fix up their facades, make them real beautiful. Not everybody applied, got the money. Why? Because there wasn't enough money for everybody. But there was enough money for the owner of these businesses in what they call, the Gold District? Down by Encinal?
Oh.
My guest is Brother Scott. The Gold Coast. Brother Scott's back. Say hello, brother. I'm going to rant and then we can talk.
Okay.
Good to see you back in the studio. It's been a while. All right. I'm almost done ranting, okay? So
You rant as long as you want, and then if I get a chance to come back later, I'll in the next broadcast.
Oh, no. It'll only be another thing. We have an unlimited amount of time.
You have an unlimited amount of time.
Okay. You don't. Okay. So I'm coming to the end. I'm coming to the end.
Then we'll talk again another time.
Why you could talk the same show. It'll be fun. Okay. So the Catholic Church, who owns these buildings in the Gold Coast, these businesses, nice businesses, they get a grant to fix up their facade. Now, they don't, remember, churches don't pay taxes. They pay no property taxes. So, if this isn't a blurring of the line between church and state, and or Mayor Gilmore taking bucks back from the Catholic Church, or getting her spiritual imaginary friend put in a good place, whatever it is, hanging J is for Mayor Gilmore because she granted this thing. Maybe that's it. It's an abomination to the other businesses who went out of business because they couldn't get that grant, because their business looked like shit. Landlords put them out of business. That was the result of the people of those grant programs. The ones that got their facades fixed, beautiful. They're still going on. All right. Here's the kicker to all this, and then Scott and I will talk about what's going on in the world a little bit. The kicker is, I come to find out that 2 or 3 years ago, the church, because of all the double parking around St. Joe's, the Catholic Church, which is a Catholic school, which is adjacent to the church, because of all that problem with parents double parking, and fear that a kid might, God forbid, get run over, was granted barriers put up that you couldn't drive there. You couldn't drive there. The city paid for barriers that you couldn't drive in that little area. Well, guess what? There are I'd guess 23 other schools, middle schools, charter schools, high schools, elementary schools around town. Probably around 23, I would guess, with the charter schools and the alternative schools. None of those schools with the same parking problems, the same people getting in and out of their cars, the mothers coming, can't drive, neighborhoods, this, that, and the other thing. And certain neighborhoods, they can't drive. That's another thing in this town. There's a big problem with that. People are driving and they can't they can't drive. We're not going to get into that today, Scott. Okay, I promise you that. The Wong Traffic School will get no bad-mouthing from me on a day like this. All right. And that's right here on Central Street. If you ever go down Central and towards out where the base is, and you want towards Webster, and you want a real good laugh, look over Wong Traffic School. If that doesn't make you laugh, you got no sense of humor, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So, they put these barriers in at city expense. And they're nice, too. Not just barriers, no parking lot. Really nice structures. Cost a lot of geld, a lot of money to put those in. Now, here's the kicker. Any beautiful day in the sunshine, one could go, on a given day, you can go by there, walk by there, and they have church prayers, services, church, not state, church services, out, sitting where you can't park anymore, but it's nice little area to gather. It's public property. It's a public street. They have people sitting out there praying their ass off on pretty much a daily basis, sometimes twice a day. That's it. That's my church and state, the blurring of the church and state in Alameda. It's too late. By the time this comes out, you'll have made your decision who to vote for. You'd have voted. Trish will have won. Trish would have lost. Trish wins. It's going to make a big difference. She's for slow development, stopping this barrage of traffic until we can get some alternative way of busing people in and out, or tramming them in, or shuttling them in, or whatever, without further building, without these builders enriching her campaign. The builders, the realtors. Scott, I'll ask you this, you're a renter. Would you like it if there were rent control in the city of Alameda, the way rents have escalated like a craziness? Would you like that? You're the people.
If you're asking me if I'd like cheaper rent, of course.
Not cheaper rent.
Yes.
No, I didn't say cheaper rent. Rent control. Where
I'd rather control the rentals.
You'd rather be the big guy that controls the rentals.
No, I don't want to be the big guy. Rather than ask the government to initiate and oversee rent controls,
like in Berkeley, for instance,
like anywhere you can name, for instance, I'd rather just have the rentals in public ownership and have the public bodies run them.
Well, how are they going to get
in so many other countries and house so many more people than we managed to do here?
And all that is because of the blatant greed in capitalism. Am I correct? Capitalism would run great if there wasn't this blatant greed, that the disparity in wages between the very top and the very bottom. Correct?
That's a simplistic way of looking at aspects of it, I think.
Okay, make it a little less simplistic, because you're the brains.
Well, I don't mean, when I say simplistic, I don't mean simple terms, because I admire simple terms, and we need to explain things in simple terms. But to look at a complex problem simplistically means you see one aspect of it, but you don't see the others, and there are other aspects of it. And I want to make sure it's clear what I said just a minute ago. Controlling the rental properties is, I think, superior to controlling rent rates per se, and only that because you have more control.
Well, how would you get the control from the big money people who own the property?
That's a good question, and it deserves a lot of discussion. But unfortunately, I got to go pick up dinner.
Oh.
So we need to postpone that. But I want to say this about what you've been talking about. Number one, you mentioned the police and mentioned them shooting people in Alameda, and I want to say this, and how brutal they are and all of that.
Well, I jokingly said they'd shoot a kid off a bike.
Right. I'm here to, my point of view is this. When you're talking about police in general, it's hard to read the papers these days and not come to that conclusion about police almost everywhere. But, not particularly in Alameda, but almost everywhere. That's number one. Number two, when you say that Trish is a person of the people because she doesn't take money from big moneyed interests like Marie Gilmore does, and then you list the big money, the donators to Marie Gilmore's campaign that you believe are big money, I don't want to see us make the mistake of confusing principle with circumstance. Because Trish Spencer hasn't taken any big money or money from big donors is not saying anything about principle. That's saying something about circumstance. In other words, when she gets in, she'll be confronted with the same sorts of pressures, accommodations, and everything that comes with office that every other politician has. And
yes, but she won't be indebted to these people because she's already been in bed with these people.
We'll see how long that lasts.
Okay.
Trust me, it won't last long at all. In fact, I don't even know exactly how much money she's taken and all that sort of thing, but I've never heard her declare that she's against taking big money in principle. She might say taking money from outsiders who have no stake in Alameda is improper.
Which, I didn't even mention that. That's exactly what Marie Gilmore does.
Okay.
She takes money from people who are going to come in here and develop.
Listen, sooner or later, every politician who feels the way you described gets a visit or a contact from somebody else from out of town with lots of money that says, you can't help them if you can't win. And without us, you can't win.
Okay, well, I hope Trish wins her grassroots campaign. Others have won grassroots campaign. Oh, Obama started out with grassroots campaigns.
Right. Are you making my case or yours with that example?
I'm making both of our cases.
That's all I want to say.
All right.
All right.
See you later.
Bye.
Hey, this has been great. Thank you, Scott. I think I gave you a little heads up onto what's going on in Alameda. I'm going to end the show the same way I end every segment. I implore you, Scott, and everybody out there, keep your dreams wet, keep your humor dry, keep your children out of the offices of recruiters. Military recruiters will change your children's lives, and very, very rarely for the better. Okay? And here's the kicker. Keep your kids off the laps of clerics wearing dresses. It ain't good. It's been in all the papers. And for Sherry Davis, my buddy, who gave me the facts the other day, my good friend was on, she said, it's not all priests. I said, yeah, it's not all priests. But you know what? When she's on, I don't end the segment that way anymore, because she's right. It's not all priests. It's a big chunk of them. One priest does not ruin the whole barrel, but 10,000 bad priests ruin the barrel. And it's been in all the papers. It's gone all the way up to the Pope. It's an evil empire. Stay away with your kids. Love you out there. Keep on keeping on. Over and out.